All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the 405 report. I'm still working on a final name. Right now, that's my running idea. The 405 options report, SPX options report, something like that, in honor of the time that I plan to start at. So today was a great day in the market. I loved it. It was the best day in the market ever. You want to guess how many trades I did today? You can type it in the chat. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to guess how many trades I did today. Yep. I see zeros across the board. Correct. I did 0 trades today. But I was kind of being serious about being a great day, not because it was a great day to make money, but because I knew it was going to be a chop day. I literally was like doing other things. I was doing move stuff. I was doing prep work for future episodes of the 405 report, working on future ideas. So that's what I meant by it was a great day. I got so much done because I wasn't staring at the screen. I was barely staring at the screen. That's what I meant. But it was a good opportunity. No matter who you are, if you're at a full-time job, if you like to watch Netflix or whatever while you're trading full-time, if you have other things to distract you, or today was a good day to do that, whatever it is that you do, so you're not just burning your eyes out and staring at the screen on days when the market is doing nothing. So yeah, let's recap today. So if you watched my earlier episodes from over the weekend, you recall that last week we had some big rallies. We closed around 39.20, which was here was the close. And then overnight, we went up a little bit Sunday into today. And then, we dropped a little bit at the open, but really it was a pretty much of a chop day. And I remember I said 39.20 was like a big area. That's where we closed on Friday. Big resistance up near 4,000. 39.60 is a decent area. This was the overnight highs. 3,900 to 20 was support. And then this is my sort of, if it breaks below 38.55, then we might think of downside. But if you look, now let's scroll in, and I have a lot of lines drawn, and there's a reason I have a lot of lines drawn, is if you see my previous episodes, I talk about chart patterns. I talk about what patterns work. And another important aspect is not just looking at the pattern itself, but looking at how long the time. If you looked at my webinar from yesterday where I talked about charting, or a lot of other webinars, I talked about, this head and shoulders formed over 2 hours, or it formed overnight, or this double bottom happened over 5 hours pre-market. Time is an important element. The other factor, of course, is context. People were asking why on Friday, and if you haven't watched, I'll just talk about it briefly, why I thought that this was going to be a bullish close. It was just the fact that the week was so bullish. Only a week ago, we were on the lows of the year. It just felt like either shorts were trapped, or people were going to close, squeeze or cover their positions into the close that they were short. It just didn't feel like this kind of rally and then a 5-hour chop is just it's not a recipe, especially given the positioning and where the market was for downside into the close. It just felt like that energy was going to be released. But again, so that's why like time and context matters. But let's look at today a little more closely. Okay, so this was the open. We dropped right off the open, and we opened right around 39.20. And I was saying on Twitter and places that I post that I'm not really looking to buy anywhere around here, because we're at 39.30. My resistances for overnight and it's only about 20 points away, and then some supports. 39.20, 3900 are I never like, I violated my rules before on this, but when I do, I almost always get burnt. When you have so many levels, see all these lines, when you have so much traffic, and not only traffic, purple lines are like strong levels. So when not only do you have so many levels, I have so many strong levels nearby. It's just very hard to make a case for, okay, I think it's going to break this way and then go 50 points so I can make a good risk return on it. Whereas here, it's like, well, look, here's my sort of bottom of my purple zone, and look, we barely broke it. We tested below it to kind of trap bears, but we never did anything. But going back to analyzing chart patterns, and the reason why I have so many lines drawn is, remember when I talked about time? So this was right up to here. This was the first hour. If you never saw the rest of this and you just saw this, you might be like, oh, it's bear flagging, right? Oh, it might break down. But the issue is the context. Your quote unquote bear flag, or what you think may be a bear flag, is right at this big support of 3,900. And remember one of my rules: don't buy puts at don't buy puts at any support, but don't buy puts especially at major supports. It'll work maybe 1 out of 10 times. I've done this for about 10 years. It's not like I've like literally recorded, the cases, but I'm telling you, big sample size, it's somewhere around 90% of the time that it will not work. And it's just not worth the headache. So then we bounced as to be expected. And then, if you get to, what is this, about noon, now you're like, oh, look, I think this is called a rising wedge. I'm not 100% sure the name. You're like, oh, it's a bearish rising wedge. A lot of people post this kind of stuff on Twitter. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is super bearish. We're going to dump, right? Well, no, not really. We did drop a little bit because we didn't go much anymore on the day, but then we just kind of chopped the rest of the day. And then, so what really happened, and I didn't finish this drawing. I haven't moved this drawing out, but more or less, we were chopping. I mean, you could make this line here or whatever. But my point is I'm experienced enough. I've made all these mistakes to know that, hey, this happened over a very short period of time. So did this. We're still holding right at some very strong levels. There's no reason to think downside. Now, it would have been different if, say, we closed at what, 39.20, right? If we had gapped down like, I don't know, 20 points, 25 points, and we opened maybe around, I don't know, like maybe here or so, and then we tried to rally off the rope and then start failing. Okay, then we're below the support. And then maybe I make a play to here to 38.55. I have a level here. It's kind of a weak level, but see how there's less traffic here versus up here? There's a little more traffic. So it doesn't matter where we open. We opened right above some supports. So that's not a good time to play puts. Doesn't mean to play calls either, but that's, this is a classic day that you can trap bulls and bears. If you have a bearish bias, you might think, oh, look at all these bearish patterns. Or if you have a bullish bias and you think, oh, we're going to continue, nothing happened. This is a classic. Last week, we had a huge rally from 36.75 we closed on Friday to 39. So that's what, we had a 250-point rally last week, which is pretty big. So this is a classic day of rest, day of chop. Usually that's a lean bullish sign, meaning we're just hanging out here, letting things get less overbought. And then we'll see, maybe not tomorrow, but it's trying to set up for more, we're confirming that this is a good place. People are okay with this being a good level to set up, potential higher movement. That being said, if we start, again, breaking lower, then of course I'll flip. But as an example, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen overnight, but I would love if overnight we kind of trickle lower for whatever reason and then gapped lower, but opened above this support, or opened right at it and then like fake broke down and reversed, then I would definitely play calls. Because remember, the trend is up, meaning buy the dip is the play, not sell the rip, unless we break below major levels. So that's kind of where that's at. So yeah, today was not a day to overreact, overanalyze, see a few candles here and think something was going to happen. I do see a question. I'll answer that at the end. Thanks. Let me see what else. So yeah, today was a day if you follow a lot of my rules, you would have been saved. The levels are too tight, too much traffic. Don't buy puts at support. The trend is up. Why are you buying puts? Don't buy anything when it's chopping, especially during midday. Look at midday, nothing happened. So there was like 4 or 5 rules you could have followed of mine that would have all told you to do nothing today. Given last week I broke some of my rules. I made good money last week, but I could have made more had I not broken some of my rules. So I mean, today was a pretty straightforward day, not the most challenging day of like, oh, I'm not like super impressed with myself that I didn't do anything, because it was fairly obvious. But it's still nice for me to pat myself on the back and be like, I said at the end of last week I wasn't gonna do stupid things and buying in a chop, and at least I did that, so that's good. Let me think. Oh yeah, and the other thing I want to mention about the context, we're entering that end of quarter period when things are rebalancing into stocks, and different flows are coming in. So I don't know if we're going to rally all the way into quarter end, but we're still in that period, which is usually a period of strength. So that's another reason for context wise. Some people at the end of the day I saw online were thinking, oh, we might dump. If you recall, there was that one day, I think it was like June 9th. It was this day. June 9th, we had that 80-point dump, which I didn't play. I've learned from this. I've identified some reasons to help me go forward when this happens. But the reason that this was the 1 in 10 times where you actually could have bought puts on a support break. But the different context is, if you recall, we had chopped for almost 2 weeks. We had tested this support level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many times. So that support level was very well tested. So, and we were going into, I think it was a hot CPI report that was coming up. So there was a little more reasons. And I think that day the VIX was rallying a lot in the afternoon. So that was the 1 in 10 where you had some reasons if you wanted to try. But if I show you, let me just go on the SPX. If I show you the context of where we were this week, completely different context. We rallied off the lows last week. We closed basically, supports were holding everywhere. We were breaking resistance. Everything is great. We're not, we might be a little overbought, but nothing necessarily speaks like, okay, we've gone too far, too fast. This is just a good 250-point bounce into a time of strength after we hit lows of the year. So like I said in my over the weekend, I could see us hit 44,000, maybe even 4,100, but maybe 4,000 by the end of the quarter as a possibility. So there really was no context or reason for this. Now, if we I don't know, over the next few days after the quarter ends, I don't think this is going to happen, but if we keep staying in this range and keep testing 3,900, then yeah, maybe we could see one of those waterfall type of days. But those days are so rare and few and far in between, so I'm not really worried about that. Looking forward to tomorrow and the rest of the week. I kind of already alluded to that. Let's see if we get some more strength into the end of quarter. I mentioned earlier, if we get like a gap down or a drop on the open tomorrow and then hold this support and then rally nicely, we could go from 38.55 back to kind of this range here, or maybe we go even farther. I'm not sure. I'm just going to use my levels to react. Our support's holding. Is there a lot of traffic? What's the situation? But as of right now, the trend is still up. We're still in buy the dip. We're still in a strong time of the year, time of the month, time of the quarter. So if the market gives you an opportunity where there's movement and you can play a reversal, especially on a support hold, then that would be great. I see we have a question. I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I want to say in terms of what happened today, the setup, and going into tomorrow. I'll take a few questions since I have time today, and then we'll wrap up. The 405 report is supposed to be shorter, so people can get daily, more consistent feedback and thoughts from me. And then I'll start doing longer 1 hour, the longer 1-2 hour webinars you're used to on a weekly basis. But I'll take more questions and talk about more trading and general trading topics. So we have one question here, and I'll read it. What do I think of 30-second binary options? I have no idea what that is. Is that like a new thing where you bet on what the market's going to do in the next minute? Or is that one? I've seen stuff like that where people can bet on. Is that what that is? Or who wrote this message? Feel free to give me a little more context, but honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not worth talking about. I just don't know. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat box. Happy to get back to that question if you give me a little more context, but in all honesty, I'm clueless on what, when I hear 30-second binary options, I'm thinking you're betting on what happens in the next minute, which sounds, I would love like 1 hour SPX options or, even more, but like 1 minute, I don't know. That's, what you want to say something small about it? Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you the floor. You have to unmute yourself. I just gave you the option to unmute. Tell us about 60-second binary options.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kev. My name is Paul.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm from Uganda. So I have been trying out with the 1 minute time frame trading. So basically what we do here is we place a trade that if it is a put or long, that after 1 minute the market will be above whatever price we entered. That is for a put. Now for a down trade, we place a trade, and we are speculating that after 1 minute, the market will be below the price we entered it. So how do we get money? So there is an 80% strike rate, whereby if it is above that price, we shall have 80% of the amount we put. Whereas if it is below, and when we say the market will be below, we shall have still 80%. Most companies give 80%, 82, 84, most of them. And now if you are wrong and the market is below, it all goes the other way around, then you lose everything. So it is an all or nothing thing.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so it's roughly what I was kind of thinking. That sounds like something for a computer or an AI or an algo. One thing I always say is I don't even look at 1 minute candles, because they're completely, it doesn't really tell you anything, because you get it's a roller coaster of so much pops and drops that I couldn't do anything. I don't know if a human could do anything with that. I feel free to prove me wrong, but that sounds like most of my trades, my shortest trades usually last, like my extreme short trades last like 5 to 10 minutes. The average trade of mine probably lasts 20, 30 minutes to a few hours. So that's kind of where I'm at. I will never be able to tell you what the market's going to do. And maybe on Friday, if those who followed me on Friday, when I was saying hold until the close, the market's going to rally in the last 10 minutes, maybe this would be the one time I could make that bet, because I was pretty convinced the market was going to go up. But thanks for sharing. No, I appreciate that. But I unfortunately know nothing about that, and doesn't sound like I would be able to speak about it. I don't like speaking about things that I don't know about. And if I know something really well, I love sharing it. But when I don't know, I don't know. Anyone else? Feel free to type questions or raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll wrap up. These are supposed to be short videos, so I'm happy to take questions. I have time today, but if not, hope you enjoyed this. That's the 405 report with me, Options with Kev. I'll try to do a few more this week. Next week, I'm probably not going to do any because I'm moving. But then starting mid-July, we'll start back up again. So thanks all for joining. Hope this was helpful. And have a good rest of your day, guys. Bye.